Hello YouTube, it's Lane here with Hobbies and Man once again, and today we're going to be doing our Unhaul video for the third quarter of the year, so the Q3 Unhaul. And like most of my other Unhauls, usually things that I Unhaul are not necessarily because I dislike them, although there are some that I did dislike and I don't want to collect anymore, but usually it's because I get really interested in something, I pick it up, I read some of it, and then after a while I either realize that although I am interested, it's not something that is a priority for me, or that my interest was not necessarily met or anything like that, right? So usually it's not that I hate anything and I'm unhauling it because I dislike it. It's usually just it didn't work for me, so I'm gonna move on. And I might come back to it later, but I don't see myself doing that anytime soon, and so there's no point in me keeping all these books, right? Usually it's also because I have other interests that I want to pursue, and selling these books is going to help me do that. So, let's start with the manga light novel stuff, and then we'll move on to comic books because I wasn't really going to do it, but I decided to try to look into, not to try to look into, but try out doing an on-haul for my comic books because, I might as well do it. So, yeah, anyway, let's start with the manga stuff. First, we'll start with a light novel, actually. So, Saga of Tanya the Evil 1 and 2. I liked the first one. The writing was a bit dry, and it was a little bit too long-winded for my taste, but it was good. I started reading the second one, and even though I was still interested in the story, I never made it past page 50, and I don't see myself ever picking this up again. And so it's going to go in the unhaul pile. So even though I really enjoyed the first one, the second one there didn't manage to catch my interest, and I'm just going to get rid of it. I probably will end up watching the anime though, because I'm pretty sure it's a pretty good adaptation, and it'll get me all of the stuff I want without having to bother reading through a bunch of very dry text. So hopefully that works. The next two books here are The Great Yahi Will Not Be Defeated, Volumes 1 and 2. I was originally going to wait till after reading Volume 3, which came out a bit ago, but I was thinking about it, and I don't really care enough about the series. I was really interested in the beginning. I quite liked it. I thought it was nice. I was supporting Square Enix, which I thought was meaningful because they're a small manga company and they're publishing stuff that I really like. But at the end of the day, even though I'm interested and I like it, there are manga that are very similar to this, but have done it better. And even though I really like the character design here, the character design is not good enough for me to keep collecting this series beyond what I've already collected. And I don't really want to reread this anytime soon, so I am just going to get rid of them. And I'll move on to something else. There's also an anime of this, so I might just watch the anime instead if I ever decide I want to go back to The Great Yahi. And then this is the last set of manga things, and I really just did not like these. I felt like they were a big cash grab, and that nothing about them was meaningful enough for me to keep them. And out of all of the scenes in this manga, only one or two of them really worked for me. So that's Deadpool Samurai Volumes 1 and 2. I got these from Walmart, so I did save a little bit of money on them, but not that much, honestly. And honestly, the only good thing about them is this panel here where All Might is hugging Deadpool. Other than that, I didn't really enjoy it. Like I said, it felt like a very emotionless cash grab from Disney and Shueisha, and it didn't really feel like there was anything there. There's no substance, and Deadpool wasn't even really able to be the Deadpool we like because he had to keep it PG for the audience that read this. So wasn't really worth the time or effort, in my opinion. I really ended up not enjoying this at all, and that's why I'm getting rid of it. So that's for the manga. If you feel like you want to click away, you're not interested in seeing what comic books I'm unhauling, feel free to do so. I know that although I do a lot of content that mixes manga and comics, not everyone is really interested in doing that. So feel free to click away now if you're not interested in the segment. So yeah, now we're going to be looking at all the comic books that I'm unhauling. All of these are floppies. So yeah, I don't know the best way to sell them. I was thinking about $1.50 per issue plus shipping. I don't know if that's a fair price for comic books. I've never sold comic books online before, but I think that's what I'm gonna go with. If any of you guys have experience, let me know down in the comments. So yeah, starting off with Miles Morales, Spider-Man 34 and 35. I bought these because I thought they were tie-ins to the Beyond storyline, the Seb Wells run on Spider-Man that ended a while back, that then led into all of the Spider-Man events that are going on right now. But apparently it's just during the same time period, and it doesn't actually correlate. Like Spider-Man and Miles Morales don't actually interact, right? So there's some point in me reading these. I was looking at the reading order, and these aren't brought up at all. So there's no point in me having these if I'm not gonna collect Miles Morales Spider-Man, and I'm not, because I'm not really interested in it. So yeah, that's 34 and 35. Then I have a bunch of Spawn stuff. Well, actually, before the Spawn stuff, let's look at Starhenge, issue 3, issue 2, and issue 1. And actually, I did like this initially. I think the art style here is glorious. It's very beautiful. It looks amazing. But the storyline is really not worth the time. So there's two different stories. One of them is a Dune-esque, like, space-oriented storyline where there's these kind of like weird future versions of humans that are in space that are fighting these evil machines. And it feels like the Machine Crusade, which is a part of Dune history. And eventually, one of the humans decides to send her son back in time, and then he becomes Merlin. And so we get this kind of like future storyline that turns into a past storyline of, you know, mythical proportions. But at the same time that storyline is happening, there is another storyline which is about this girl and this guy, and this girl's into occult stuff, and this guy is just like feigning interest in it to get laid. And it doesn't really work for me. I don't really find that part interesting, and the fact that it focuses so much on that part kind of makes it not worth the time. I think the point is that eventually the guy that's just trying to get laid will eventually turn out to be a descendant of the original Merlin wizard that came back in time. But the fact that I can tell that off the bat, and two, that the story is taking so long to get there, it's really not worth the effort. I would have really liked it if they just focused on the past stuff and then eventually merged into the current timeline stuff, and then just kind of gave it, you know, that sort of linear treatment. I think the bouncing back and forth is really not worth reading. So yeah, that's why I'm getting rid of Starhenge. I'm really sad because I thought it was going to be really awesome, and it just ended up being really disappointing. Then I have a bunch of Wastelander things. I really reviewed this, but I just ended up not liking it because I think that I thought it was an event. It turned out not to be. There's just 5 different one-shots. I bought them and I didn't find them to be meaningful or enjoyable or particularly, you know, cool. So I'm just gonna get rid of them. I didn't like them. If I was a bigger fan of Old Man Logan, which I think I read once a long time ago, but I usually just say I haven't read it because that's safer. And if I had, you know, been a big fan of that, I would have kept them, but I'm not, so there's no point in me, you know, keeping them around. So, yeah, I have a bunch of Spawn issues that I'm going to get rid of. When I first started collecting comic books, a year ago, I guess, I decided to start getting into Spawn because it was at the right time to get into Spawn. There was a bunch of new events and new things coming out in the Spawn universe, and I was keeping up with them. But eventually, I don't remember what happened. I think there was a bit of a clerical error. I was spending too much money and time on these comic books, and I wasn't actually getting that much in return. And I started to stop collecting them, and then I ended up with a bunch of random issues. And well, at this point, I can just buy the collected editions for about, you know, $10 each. So there's no point in me continuing to collect these floppies because I don't really find that much enjoyment in them. So Gunslinger 1, Gunslinger Spawn 1, 2, 3, let's see, 4, 5, There was another one, I think. Let me see. No, that's not one. Is that it? I think I had one more of Gunslingers one. I don't know. I think I have 1 through 4 and then 7. I said this was 5. That was wrong. Sorry about that. And I have Scorched 1, which I quite liked. I actually might keep this just for the cover, but the storyline inside was good, but it never kept up with it. So I just have 1, and then I ended up skipping all the way to 4. Then here we have Kingspawn 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think this one is 9 because I had some issues and I ended up skipping a bunch of volumes, or sorry, of issues. And then Obi-Wan Star Wars Obi-Wan #1. I didn't really care about this. I thought it was going to be meaningful, and it ended up just being some sort of like a bunch of little Obi-Wan side stories. Then I have Devil's Reign, and I quite liked it actually, but I don't really have enough knowledge about the current timeline to really feel invested in this story, so there's no point in me keeping it. So Devil's Reign 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. There was also kind of I felt like there was a big jump in storytelling between 4, 5, and 6. And so there's no point in me keeping it because, well, I didn't really end up getting the full story. So yeah, that's all the stuff I'm getting rid of. That's all the stuff I'm unhauling. Most of the comic books I'm unhauling because I just didn't keep up with them, and the return compared to the investment of time and money was not really worth it. So I'm getting rid of them, hoping to get a little bit of that money back, and probably pumping it back into manga or other comic books in collected editions, because honestly, collected editions are the way to go. It's just that some comic books I'm willing to buy in single issues because I quite end up, enjoying them and liking them. So yeah, that's it for my unhaul video. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe, and comment down below. Let me know what you thought. I'm also posting all of these on Reddit and Twitter, so feel free to drop me a DM on either of those. And if you're interested in buying these, I'm more than happy to sell them. So yeah, thank you guys very much for watching, and see you guys later.